All right. Well, hey everyone. Thanks for coming. I know you all have other places that you could be, so we definitely appreciate you spending your time with us. I'm going to make a couple of announcements and then I'll hand it over to tonight's speaker. Myself, I'm Eric Frank. I'm the head of admissions at Promotable. Um, our mission at Promotable is to close the data skills gap and help everyone get the skills they need to be successful in today's data-driven economy. We do this through events like tonight's, where we invite practitioners from industry-leading companies. In addition, we host a series of workshops and classes. All of our classes are designed for working professionals, taught by practitioners like tonight's speaker, and only 5 hours per week. Definitely check out our website for our upcoming classes. We have classes like data analytics, which is where you can level up your data skills. Our next class starts soon, so definitely check the website. It's designed for analysts, managers, or anyone that wants to level up their data skills. You definitely don't need to have an analytics or coding background, but it can help too. And then in this class, it's hands-on. You'll learn the skills you need to turn data into insights and to solve business problems. You'll learn to confidently navigate and manipulate large data sets, use technologies like SQL and Tableau to visualize and communicate your insights to stakeholders with powerful dashboards. And so that course is 5 hours per week for 8 weeks. And you can attend it in person or live online. And obviously right now we're sticking with the live online. And then we also have some Python courses coming up as well. So again, check us out. And then in terms of our social and how to get connected with us, we have a Slack community of over 8,000 members. You will all receive an invitation to our Slack community where you can connect with other businesses and tech professionals. Definitely share your resumes, best practices, and just communicate with everyone. And then obviously we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all that stuff too. So definitely check us out there. And then this talk, as well as other talks, are on our YouTube page. So definitely look through that as you're watching on this once you get done. Again, thanks for joining us this evening. And then we got a quick video before I'll intro the speaker for tonight. Awesome. So tonight we have Breaking into Data, the Data Analytics Landscape and Where You Fit, hosted by Kate Lee, who's a Strategic Analytics Analyst at IRI. So thank you very much for coming, Kate. And I will stop sharing and let you take on over. So this is Kate.
Thank you, Eric. Let me share my screen first. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Today, mainly, we're going to talk about the data science and data analysis skills, and then I'll share some case study that I've done before to elaborate how you can build your skills during you are still working. First, I am going to introduce myself. I did my master degree at University of Rochester, Simon Business School. I have a master in marketing analytics, and I was work with Edelman Intelligence as a data science intern. And then right now, I'm the strategic analytics analyst in IRI. So, and then I'm going to introduce a bit about IRI, what we are doing, what I am doing normally, like my daily work. IRI is a provider for the big data, and then we have a predictive analysis, and then some insight that can provide the client. We have the ILD, which is liquid data, that can aggregate all the data, the POS data, and then to report for our client, which is mainly in CPG industry. And the team that I'm working on is strategic analytics. We have basically three practice, which is in-store execution, revenue management, and marketing mix. That's basically about me and the industry that I'm working with. So before we moving on to today's talk that I'm going to share with you, I will first go the topic about the analytics journey that you can see it right here. And then I will tell you who data analyst will be in what position in this journey, and data scientist will be which part of this journey. And then we will elaborate the differences between data scientist and data analyst. And then we will talk about the common thing that a data analyst and scientist need to have. And then we will move on to the case study, and then I'll take question from there. So first, I'm going to start talking about the analytics journey. Actually, if I have one sentences to summarize this slide, is from reporting is we are going to tell either the client or the audience a truth. That is reporting. And then from telling that truth, we need to dig into that truth to answer the client's question, which will give them some insight. And then we will move on to the predictive part is this truth is a pattern or it's an outliers, and then that's the thing that we need to identify. Like the season right now, it's COVID-19 in March and April. It definitely impact a lot on CPG industry and all the industry. So we need to take care of how we see the data during different phases. For example, in reporting, it's a very so for a data analyst, basically we are in the phases in reporting and insight, which is we gathering the data and then to show our audience that what is going on right now, and then based on those data, we can answer some question. For example, I have list a question is how the consumers react to the price change. So we need to do we have to dig into the data and then give out our insight based on the data that we have. But for a data scientist, we have much more expectation for them to dig into the predictive part. For example, how the demand will be look like in the future, something like that. And then so this slide is to elaborate who support the analytics journey. We have three phases, which I said that before. So analyst is primarily is driving the report and the insight part. And then data scientists will focus on the predictive part, which is pretty straightforward. But right here, we have non-analytics business role that will support everything, because data analyst or data scientist, we can generate the insight or the deliverables that we want to tell the client, but we need a bridge between us and the client to translate our data into an important or useful information for the client. And the IT support right here is super important, is because we need to ensure the data quality and its consistency. And then the IT support will definitely, if we have a very efficient IT roles in this journey, we will have a much more smoothie or efficient data analysis experience. And then let's move on to let's dig into the big differences between data scientists and data science and data analytics. So the purpose for data science is prediction and the causal relationships. And then so for data scientists, I always believe is we are creating something new from the data, or we can see the things, or we can find a different approach that we can use from the data. But for data analyst or data analytics, much more we are focusing on reporting and then having some insight based on the data that we have, and then giving out the decision that the client can have. And and then how does data scientist and data analyst use the data? Data science will manipulate the data set to explore data and then training the models. And then the data that data scientists normally work with is pretty large and pretty messy. But for data analysts, we are just need to deep understanding the data. For example, if we want to see the trend that from, let's say, 2018 to 2019, what the sales in certain categories look like. It's very easy for us to draw a chart and then to see the trend and to see if there's any spike during that time period. And then how the outputs are being delivered. For data scientists, we will do the research or the product, which is the model. But for data analytics, we normally will deliver the dashboard or a deck that can that is user friendly, so the client can use it very easily. And then the technology level that the data scientist and data analyst needs to have. For data scientists, it's essential that we know how to coding on either Python or R. But for data analytics, data analysts, it's much more important for us to use Excel or Tableau to visualize things, or even SQL to work with different data sources. And then when we talk about the differences between data analyst and data scientists, is there any common things that between data analyst and data scientists? The answer is yes, because that's how this slides show you, which is business mindset and soft skills. You can see the differences between data science and data analytics. Analytics is on software engineering practice, data engineering, and statistics or algorithms, and data mining and visualization. So let me elaborate the business mindset and soft skills first. The business mindset is very important under the concept. I realize it after I start working, is because when I always remember when I was in school, I always feel very happy or appreciated if I can have a very beautiful model fit, or our model just work in a way that we want to. But in the real world, the best model might not be the model that has the best model fit. Is the model that can explain the situation the most. So the biggest challenge for the company is just we need to adapt that data scientist is we need to create the business value. So if our data analysis is valuable to either our company or to our client, that can bring the value to that is where data has value. Because if we spend lots of time on a model to get a really good model fit, and then to get everything very robust, but actually it cannot answer the client's question. At the end of the day, the model is good, but it's not that useful or not valuable for the company or for the client. So I will say that a lot of times business mindset is really focused on revenue generation, but in this kind of scenario, we need to always think of how does it cost for you to dig into data analysis, and then how it can generate the revenue. And then for the soft skills, that is another layer of it, is because if you are a person that is really good at data, really good at statistics or math, it's always very important that you can translate your knowledge to the audience that cannot understand it. For example, if we want to talk about price elasticity to the client and tell them that, look, your price elasticity is high, is inelastic, so you can do certain price move. But if the audiences don't know what is price elasticity, they will have a really hard time to follow you, no matter how valuable your insight will be. If they cannot understand that concept, for them, the audience will have a really hard time to follow and then to build the trust between us. And for me, I think the skill, this soft skill is really important to translate the information or the knowledge that we have and then to the client. Because just like what I mentioned before, the data and analysis that can generate revenue and then can have the business value is very important in this industry. And then for the networking part is because I think in this part is because lots of people will have a stereotype, at least me, before I joined this industry, I was thinking, oh, data scientists, we're kind of scientists. So we're in the lab, we just lock ourselves and then we don't hear other people's need or something like that. But actually networking is still very important is because it's always very important if you can have a go-to person to talk about how should I approach, what approach should I have to analysis this data? Or what kind of perspective I can have to think about this data? I will elaborate this while I'm talking about the case study. And then, so this soft skills, I'm talking about presenting to non-technical audiences, which I covered earlier before, but the consumers of analytics are likely to be non-technical. So the clients will really need your help to help them understand their business question and then to answer them. So if you cannot easily explain what you're building in your findings, it will hinder how they will adapt this. And then I will say, if you can explain a thing very easily, that is just don't make it complicated, because the best model that exists in the world, at least in my mind, is very easy to understand, very flexible to adapt. So let's move on to the skill set the data scientist will need to have, which is understanding what cost or loss function you're trying to minimize. It's very important. And then this will help you determine the process that you're going to do your models and the process, and create or set up the process that you will have. And then you have to really understand the business question. You have to make your model explainable to the issue that you want to solve. And another thing is, I think in data scientists is very important is the time management, because if it's a new problem, like new business problem, it's very beneficial if you can build something quickly so you can test it instead of trying very hard to build a super complicated model and then try a new thing. Because you want to, the basic thing you want to do it here is you want to have a concept on what's going on, what can I do to dig in. And then another important thing, no matter you're a data scientist or data analyst, is continuous learning. Because right now we have machine learning or deep learning, those kind of fancy word in the world right now. But it's very important that you need to understand the concept of those algorithms, and then you can implement them to your daily basis work. And then the software, another thing that is different from data analyst is the software engineering craftsmanship. Is if you are, it's more about this slide is very technical. It's about when you are writing the code, what convention you need to follow. So the first thing is you need to make your code very clean. There's a bunch of benefits for make your code clean. The first, so if we all understand that if you're a real world scenario, you want everything you want to kick off everything quick out of the door as soon as possible. I test it and I want to send to others. So in this time, you will sacrifice how clean or how neat your code can be. But actually, this will hinder your further investigation in your code. That's say if you write a code or write a function that you want everyone to use it, but you didn't comment it well, or you didn't write it clean, you will have you hand out this code, you will need no, it's not need, you will let other people have a really hard time to run your code. They have to change lots of things manually. If there's a bug, there's no way your code is working, and that is a waste. So that is very important for data scientists to maintain a clean code. Another example thing is you want to do the version control and the logging. You want to document every times of you want to document every version you have tested, because we are human beings, so we are really easy to fall into a trap that is, I forgot I did it before, but actually I test this kind of combination before. If you're not doing the version control, and you will have a very hard time to remember what kind of thing you have retested, what kind of thing you didn't. And then your job is never finished with the model. Once it's in production and live, it will start to degrade, which means is because more people is using your code, no matter is your package or model. There are lots of possibilities that people will find bugs or anything. So you need to be diligent to your code and to maintain it. So let's move on to the skills that data analyst will have. The first is data mining and visualization, because data analyst is kind of like a business, science and art kind of role, because you have the ability to do statistics, and then you are capable to do math accurately, but at the same time, you need to do some judgment during your studies. So conducting exploratory data analysis and answering the question is very important. So I think these three questions is very valuable to me, at least every time when I receive a new data set. The first is what the quality of the data, how many missing data are there, how many incorrect values, what about how am I going to handle the outliers? And the second question is this data is complete, or I lost some data that I didn't aware of? And the third is how this data related to others, because as a data analyst, you are doing data analysis, I believe collinearity is just like a nightmare for everyone. If you're running a regression, collinearity will just break your model or something like that. And just so after answering those questions, and then after we analyzing the data, the next step is visualization. Visualization will help the audience or anyone who is going to read your report can get what you are going to say in like 1 second or 5 seconds. So here's some visualizations example. There's some package in Python or R, or you can build a dashboard in Tableau or Power BI. And all these dashboards can also be done in Excel as well. So, and then Excel right now is still a very strong tool for everyone to work with. And then the other thing that is important to data analysts, I think it's an advanced level, is data engineering. So you want to have some experience with SQL or the language can help you to work with different database, because SQL will give you a better understanding how data structure look like. And then SQL is pretty a strong language that will allows you to make changes or delete items or search for items without you need to navigate through lots of folders or files. You can only write one sentence and then find the things that you want in SQL. And then you need to have a knowledge about the data structure, and you need to know what kind of data you are working with right now. So after talking about the differences and the common things that we have through data science, between data scientists and data analysis, I'm going to share something that is much more interesting. So I worked with Edelman Intelligence before. At that time, I was a data science intern. And then I worked with their data, which is called Edelman Trust Spirometers. It's a survey data which contain four different kind of levels. For different kind of levels that will allow people to test. For example, the four levels is integrity, ability, dependability, and purpose. So people will rank their 40 the 40 companies that in their study how great they feel the company has integrity. So for example, Tesla is one of those ETM, the Edelman Trust Parameters company. So people will fill in the survey data about how integrity Tesla is, how the ability of Tesla is, and then how Tesla have the social responsibility, like the purpose. So that is the purpose variables. And the other is dependability. It's how you can rely on this company. So at that time, my question is, do we have a new approach to use this data set? Because the company at that time, they normally dealt with this data just reporting how those company looks like. So as an intern, I was assigned to find a new approach about this data set. And then I need to say the selling data, which is POS data, like IRI. What is like IRIs normally will work? The data is the POS data. POS data is every time you go to a grocery store and then you buy, let's say, a Chobani yogurt, and then that will so you will scan that to the system, and then that's a record of POS data, which is selling data. And then survey data is some vendor will send out a survey to specific, or either it's specific or it's normal audiences to see their opinion. So analyzing so by this time, knowing what data set you're working with is very important, because how you should treat selling data and survey data is super different. For example, survey data from 1 to 5, they're not linear. So you cannot do regression on that, because you need to treat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separately, independently. But for selling data, it is for like sales, we can very easy to use regression to do that. So at that time, I think to myself, how should I just find the methodology to solve this problem? At that time, I randomly read the blog from Green Book, which is a PR blog talking about how factor analysis will benefit the panel data's analysis. So I inspired by that article, and then I do the K-mean cluster to find out those 40 companies. I just separate those 40 companies into 4 different kind of levels. And then, for example, I separate that 40 companies into 4 different kind of into 4 different kind of levels that we can leverage. Let me elaborate that. I will only say one segment as an example, which is high familiarity and with medium performed. Oh, so familiarity and performed is one of the sector that is set for that company. So as I use K-mean analysis to separate it into high familiarity and medium performed. And I realized that ability is a very important driver for people to trust them. And then under that bucket, we have automobiles company, CPG company, and airline company. So that provide my boss. And another approach is we can separate those company into four segments, and then we can combine the secondary data with this panel data to analyze who is their driver to what is the driver will make people have more trust to the company. So, and let me briefly talking about the methodology of k-means. K-means is you can easily find it in R. So after you run the code will help us to identify. So you can see the star right here is the center that R will set. And then R will just collect the trait by those two stars. And then I just use this methodology to solve my problem. And I think that's all I have uncovered today. And then I'm open for question right now. Hope that makes sense to everyone. And here's my LinkedIn. If you are really interested in something specifically, feel free to reach out to me.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Kate. Appreciate that. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to just put them in the chat on the YouTube live stream, and then we can go through them. There's a one or two in here right now already. And so we'll start with the first one on here. It says, what level of statistics would you say is necessary to get an entry-level position in data science?
Statistics? I will say, I will say that as an assumption that everyone will take the college class for statistics, and then for data scientists, you can always learn about statistics, but the very basic thing like regression, how kind of probability works, or those kind of thing is the very, very basic things that you want to know. And then for a data scientist, the most important thing besides statistics is math, because if you're working with code, math will help you a lot on how you are going to write things down, and then how you are going to work with the data structure.
Perfect. And also, just so everyone knows, this will all be shared, so you can check some stuff out later as well.
Okay.
And yeah, so we'll wait around for a couple of minutes here and just wait for some people if anyone has any other questions. Again, Kate's LinkedIn is on there, so feel free if it's a more in-depth question or you're wondering something that might take a little bit more time or you'd like written out response-wise, you can definitely just add her on LinkedIn and shoot her a message. So yeah, we'll hang out for a few minutes here and see if there's a couple other questions. We got one in here right now that just says, it's from Jimmy. It says, what would be some crucial steps moving from data analyst to data scientist?
Oh, I'm sorry, can you say the question again?
Yeah, it was, what would be some crucial steps moving from data analyst to data scientist?
So the crucial steps I will say is the modeling skill, because for data analysts, the most important thing we are basically is cleaning data. And then if you want to be a data scientist, you need to have the ability to build a model. So I think that is really different.
Perfect. All right. Well, yeah, we'll hang out here for, again, a few more minutes and see what other stuff pops up. So I'll let you know as soon as questions jump in here. We got one other question in here from Terrence. Says, do you have, I mean, again, if you have this info, feel free to share. Do you have any info about the use of data analyst skills in nonprofit work?
In nonprofit work, that will be hard. I cannot speak for that. I mean, I am not sure how nonprofit work will do, but I do really do read some articles around that. I'm not sure if it's called nonprofit, but I do. I don't have data set to share on that, but if you are going, if you go to Medium, the site that people will share lots of articles. I think lots of people right now will share about the um, around the data analysis around the how Black communities just how African Americans community affect by the arrest or something. I hope that will help you to dig in more.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree too. I think that it depends on what kind of nonprofit work that you're
Yeah.
talking about, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of data analytics work that goes along with nonprofits, especially because a lot of them are working on heavy data-driven environments.
Yeah.
And so we got a couple other questions here. One is, what are some non-technical roles out there to get started in the business side of data analytics?
I will say if you can work in on the client side, in the if you are on the client side, then you will have a very for example, in our company, we will have a data analyst side, just like me, or on the client side is they will need to help the client to gathering the data. That won't request you lots of statistical skills or anything, but you can build your business and knowledge based on that. And then after that, if you keep learning and think you're capable, it's always a good opportunity that you can move on to another side. That's what I will think. You can use your business knowledge and then combine a lot of learning that you have with statistics or math, and then to move on to the job that you want.
Awesome. And then we got another question here that just says, what have you done to help yourself with improving your business soft skills? So essentially like to present to like a non-technical audience.
Yeah, I have I think before the first 3 months that I start working, I really had a hard time to talk to the client or translate my knowledge to the client. I think all of them it's based on I don't understand the business and I don't understand what they want. So I think I spent lots of time understanding what they're interested in, and I spent lots of time on how can I work on a lot on how can I make my knowledge more easy to translate to the audience. So I will write everything that I want to say down, and then I will train those information down to like one sentences to see if that can cover all the insights that I want to generate to the client. So I think two things is very important here. One is understanding the business, understanding the client. That will definitely help you to translate things easier. Second thing is practice.
Awesome.
Yep, that's it.
Perfect. Sweet. Well, again, I'll give it just one more minute to see if any last questions trickle through, and then we'll close it out here. So we'll give it another minute. All right. Well, I haven't heard or seen anything else really trickle in too much, but those are some good questions, and definitely appreciate those. And again, feel free to reach out to Kate as well on LinkedIn if you have anything in depth. Other than that, though, definitely check out promotable.io, which is our website. It has all of our future events and all of the information that you could want about the classes and courses that we take that definitely relate to a lot of what Kate was talking about today. And thank you very much again, Kate, for coming in and doing this.
Thank you.
And definitely we'll look forward to hearing from you again in the future. So thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Bye now.